Hello, everybody. This review is on the what I assume is going to be the biggest film of the American Thanksgiving season, Wicked. So the plot of this movie is this witch named Alphaba, who was previously the Wicked Witch of the West. Actually, didn't start out so wicked. She was just a normal, everyday witch who was really misunderstood, and she got ridiculed because she was green. And she went to this magical university and befriends Glinda, played by Ariana Grande, who's the good witch in the Wizard of Oz story, as you know. And they are both friends, and they get along quite good. But of course, Alphaba is getting bullied at school, and everybody thinks she's a monster, and everybody hates her just because she looks different. And it shows her slowly starting to descend into villainy before she breaks it. And the whole thing is that you see the broken friendship between these two witches. Yeah, I'm gonna flat out say it. I really had fun with this movie. I had mostly positive expectations for it because, on the one hand, I didn't know how this film was gonna work. Like, I know this is based on a really famous Broadway musical, which I've I've never seen the Broadway musical. I mean, I've never been to Broadway, and I don't really go to many live plays. I All I really knew uh, about the musical was I knew some of the cast members. I know that famous poster with you know, the witch like with the hat down and the little smirk, like, and I knew that one song, that popular, you're gonna be popular. I knew that song, but other than that, I really didn't know anything. But I figured this wouldn't be hard to follow, even if I didn't really know the plot, because it's based on the Wizard of Oz. Even though I like wanting to know the plot of a movie before I actually see it. I figured this wasn't going to be hard to follow because Wizard of Oz is like one of the simplest stories ever. But yeah, despite being a more simple story, I thought it was an interesting prequel to Wizard of Oz. Like, it's not like Oz the Great and Powerful, rare that movie, the one with James Franco. Yeah, it's not really like that, where it's mostly about Oz and how the witches kind of had the bad relationship with Oz. This one is thoroughly about the witches, and I like it. It gives it a really unique aspect to the whole world of the Wizard of Oz, and you see more of the magical aspects because the Wizard of Oz is more just an adventure fantasy. This one, it's not really an adventure film. There's not really a lot of set pieces. It mostly focuses on the relationship between Alphaba and Glinda, and it shows, all the magic they do. And I did find it kind of neat how they had a school for um, for their magic and learn sorcery. It was kind of like Harry Potter, where they just learn magic and have to they have to go on a train to it. It's kind of like Harry Potter, honestly, which I thought that was okay. Maybe that's not really original, but it's kind of a neat idea, and it adds to a lot of the world building of Wizard of Oz, and it does that without beating you over the head with references. Like, they don't show everything. Like, they do allude to the sleeping flowers in one scene, but that's really it. Like, they're not beating you over the head with Wizard of Oz callbacks, like saying, "Look, there's the Tin Man. Look, there's the Scarecrow. Look, there's all the Munchkins. Look, there's the trees throwing apples." Like, they don't allude to them too much. It's mostly its own story, kind of like Oz the Great and Powerful, and I like it for that. And I like seeing the relationships between all the witches and how they really react to the fact that one of them is different. And yeah, I'm not really one who complains about the sympathetic villain type trope, but I actually like that. They didn't like I like how villains have a reason to be evil. Like, I like how Alphaba is just a normal witch who's pretty timid but really wants to explore more, but everybody shuts her out. Basically it's like Shrek. Think about it. It's a fairy tale about a green protagonist who's shunned out from the world, and yeah, that's it. It's basically like Shrek, but to be fair, I think the musical was made before Shrek, but you get the idea. And the effects, they're pretty good. They're not amazing. Some of them kind of look a little odd. I really can't really describe it because it's with without any visual reference. It's probably not good. But some of it is pretty okay. Like when Glinda's floating around in the bubble, like that looks fine, and even the flying monkeys, they look all right. They kind of look a little too exaggerated a bit. They're kind of like Planet of the Apes, except not as subtle. But I guess they got the weird fantasy idea down, and even lots of the weird creatures, like the professor at the Witch Academy is a goat who's voiced by Peter Dinklage, and like I like how they have a lot of weird creatures in the land of Oz, and they didn't just reuse Munchkins and everybody else from the Wizard of Oz story. They kind of went with their own unique set of characters, kind of like Oz the Great and Powerful. And the musical numbers are really good. I mean, this is from the director of In the Heights, apparently, and I really liked In the Heights. And so I think John M. Chu, the director, I think he really has a knack for musicals, and he really knows how to bring shows to the big screens. So I think he really has had a knack for musicals, and I'm glad he got to be able to do a more bigger budget one that's based on an arguably more famous one. And like I said, I've never seen the musical, but that actually did add to it. It added a lot more surprises for me, and I really want to see how it wraps up because this is the first part. There's going to be a part two next year, and yeah, I'm really curious about part two. I want to see how it wraps up, and I really want to see more of this land and the relationship between all the characters. And it's a really good film. I really don't know what else to say, but it surprised me a lot. I didn't know. I felt it could go either way. It could be either forgettable or inferior to The Wizard of Oz, but maybe, okay, to be fair, I wasn't expecting it to be on par with The Wizard of Oz, but I was like, I don't know, would this be a worthy film? But it's a really fun film. It's very entertaining. It's not really like much other films out currently, and we don't get a lot of fantasy films nowadays. Although we are getting that new animated Lord of the Rings film, which I do want to see that pretty soon. And it's a really fun film. It's very colorful and it's dark in the right places, and there's a lot of whimsical aspects to it. It has amazing costume designs. It has a very likable cast and some really good musical numbers. And I don't know what to say, but it's a very fun experience. If you want to see, a big screen event that's not an action film, this is one to check out. So I'm glad I decided to give this a chance because I really ended up enjoying this one. Okay, the trailers that played before the movie. There was Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I'm really excited for this one. I liked the first Sonic the Hedgehog. Like I thought it was good. Like for a live action movie based on Sonic, I think it could have been a lot worse, but the second one I absolutely loved. It had more aspects from the games. It was more colorful. The action was more amped up. It felt more like Sonic. So I think this one, it definitely looks like a more modern, like a modern, not modern, but like 2000s type Sonic game, whereas Sonic 2 was kind of more like the earlier 90s one. So I'm really excited to see the direction they take with this. So I can't wait to see this. There's this movie called Last Breath, which is about these divers who find this World War II ship sunken, and they send some guy down, and Woody Harrelson, I think, is one of the guys up top, and it seemed interesting. I think it looks pretty suspenseful. I actually do like a lot of those movies that are set underwater. Like, okay, I'm not a marine biologist. I'm not, one of those science nerds, but I like underwater settings. I think whether it's fictional or if it's, more of a thriller or a drama, I think underwater settings are really cool. So I think this will be an interesting one to check out. Snow White. I don't know about this one. I mean, maybe it could be okay, but I don't really know. No. Rachel Zegler, like I can see her as Snow White. She's young, she's very friendly and happy. She kind of has the personality of Snow White. I haven't seen the original Snow White, and I don't even know. I'm not even going to attempt to think, but I guess we'll see how it is. But I don't know. Maybe I might wait for Disney Plus. Paddington in Peru. I think this one will be good. I quite liked the other two Paddington movies for movies that could have easily been so stupid and juvenile, like a like an Alvin and the Chipmunks type movie. They were actually very wholesome and very funny and cute, and I'm sure this will be more of the same. So I'll definitely see it. The Fire Inside, which is a true story movie about, I think, the first female boxer. It could be interesting. I usually like those sports dramas based on true stories. I think they usually tend to be inspiring and very interesting. So I might think about this one. I don't know a lot. I don't know a lot about it. I never even heard of it until today, but maybe it could be good. And there was Lord of the Rings, The War of Roten, that anime Lord of the Rings movie. I'm curious. I think this will be pretty cool. I'm not an anime person, but I think Lord of the Rings has potential for an animated film, and even as an outright anime film. So I guess I have a reason to see an anime film on the big screen, given it's Lord of the Rings, which is a movie trilogy I like. So yeah, Wicked, it's actually quite good. It's very charming, it's whimsical, it's colorful, and despite it being pretty long, like nearly 3 hours, it goes by fast if you are really invested in it. And if you love The Wizard of Oz, you'll definitely like this movie. So it's just it's a really fun experience. It's very whimsical, and there's really nothing like it out in the theaters nowadays because there's not too many fantasy films out anymore. But and it's a good one for families. Like it's inoffensive enough for kids. I mean, yeah, some parts I guess could be considered a little dark for kids, but it's still a good one to take the family to, and I think a bunch of people would enjoy it. So yeah, and I do want to see Gladiator 2 soon. I actually did recently see the first Gladiator. I'll probably review that one soon. So I guess if you don't want to take your kids to Gladiator 2, you can just always see this. So take care, everybody.